Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Holga 120. So throughout the video, I'm going to be showing you a bunch of different examples so that you can get an idea of what you can create with this camera. But it is really fun, super light. I usually just like to have it around my neck while I have my hold fast on. So I'll have my contacts and my digital on either side. And then sometimes I'll just have this around my neck just for those fun movement party type shots. For me, this camera is more about just the in-between moments. So I don't really like it for like a stationary, pretty shot. That's not what this is about. I love it for when the couple's walking or when they're laughing or maybe when they're spending time with guests. I find it really great for the reception at weddings. So getting a few shots of the bride and groom toasting with their glasses, going in for a kiss, getting their first dance, you know, a few shots on the Holga. I find that it really makes the colors pop, especially with flash, and it just gives an extra feel to the wedding day, a really nostalgic feel that you can't get with digital cameras. So I'm going to go into the film stock that I usually use, the settings that I have on the camera, and different little things that you need to be aware of and just be careful of, because these cameras aren't built perfectly, and that's kind of the beauty of them, is that they will have light leaks or different little things that make each one unique. So I do recommend, if you're gonna buy one, it might be a good idea to see it in store, so that way you can see just how well the bottom is put together and how tight everything is. Because if it's not super tight, that is when you'll get light leaks. So I did like being able to see this one in person and get to choose the one that had the least amount of spaces connecting the back. But I did order another one and I just had to tape it up more because it does have more light leaks. So just be aware of that when you're purchasing. So a few different things here. You'll see on the lens that you do have different focus settings. So let's see if you can kind of see that. You'll see one person, two people, a group, and a mountain. I usually have it set to the mountain because I like just having everything in focus. You know, maybe if you're shooting a detail shot or one person, maybe you will have it you know, slightly more shallow, but I do like just seeing everything in focus, especially for the dancing or the party shots. Another little setting that we have here just above the lens is the aperture setting. So you'll see a shaded overcast setting and then a sunny setting that you can kind of switch between there. I usually just keep it on the overcast setting, and then I put tape over top so that it doesn't move or that no light can get in that little spot. So the difference between the two is that the cloudy will be around f8 and then the sunny is around f11. So there is a slight difference there, and obviously if you're shooting in full sunlight with this camera, then maybe you do want it on that full sun setting. I'm typically shooting it during the dancing shots or with flash, so I usually just keep it on the cloudy setting so that I get the overexposure that I want. On the side here is the shutter, and yes, it will sound like you didn't even take a picture. Sometimes it just feels so quiet that you can barely tell if it worked, but that is the sound that comes from it. And then the last little thing is the shutter setting down here at the bottom. So you'll see a B and an N. So a B is bulb, so make sure that your camera is never set on that. That's really important. Otherwise, the shutter is staying open. Whereas if you have it on N, that just means normal. So that means your shutter speed will be at 100th of a second. This camera doesn't have many settings. That's kind of the fun and the joy of shooting with it, is that you're not thinking a bunch. So it has only 100th of a second shutter speed, which is that little guy. And then the aperture again can go between 8 or 11, but even that setting, it just doesn't really matter. It's more about just having fun with the camera. Even the lens is plastic, so you can see that you're not gonna get anything crazy out of it, but it's fun. And I actually really enjoy the shots that I get out of it, especially being able to shoot medium format film in here is just really cool for a toy camera. Inside the camera here, you'll see this square insert that I can remove. So I can remove it there. This one is the Holga 120 CFN, so it does have the built-in flash, which is why I have two batteries in there as well. but it comes with a square insert or a 4x3 insert. But I personally love the way that the square images look, just very classic, reminds me of Holga. So I usually keep the square insert in there. And then another thing that you'll see is if you are shooting with the square insert in, you'll see two options here at the bottom. So you'll see a 12 and a 16 option, and you'll want the arrow facing whichever insert you have in. Because I'm shooting with the square insert, that means that I should have 12 frames for the roll. So I'll set the arrow to the 12 there, and then I'll follow the numbers that come through this top window. If I'm shooting with the 4x3, then I need to move that arrow to the 16 shots per roll. So you are getting more shots per roll if you do shoot the 4x3. But again, I just personally love the way that the square images turn out, and I find that I have less issues with light leaks. So that's just a personal preference. I like shooting it at the 12. So whenever you take a shot with this camera, you are gonna wanna make sure that you wind it up. So take a shot, make sure to wind it quickly. Look at the little window here as you wind it to see the next number come up before you shoot again. If you forget to wind it, it'll still probably look really cool, but you will end up with a double exposure. So I'll show you some examples of that as well. There's been several times where I've wound it too far. I've missed a few frames. So those are just kind of the joys that come with shooting with a camera like this, is that things are hard to see and you really have to focus on watching the numbers go by and making sure you don't miss anything. In terms of the film stock that I usually shoot with my Holga, I go between Portra 400 and Portra 800 just to make sure I'm getting enough light. If you do shoot with like 100 ISO film stock, I think the images will be slightly underexposed unless you're shooting with a ton of sun. But because the aperture is at f8 or f11 with 1/100th of a second shutter speed, that means that you need a higher ISO film, especially in shady situations or indoors. So I love the way that Portra 400 just really makes the colors so vibrant and fun, especially for those dancing photos with the flash. So these are the two different Holgas that I own. I have the Holga 120 CFN, which again has the built-in flash. I do find that this one has less light leaks. I don't know if it's because it's the CFN version or if it's, you know, just this specific build, because again, they're all built differently and have different little quirks about them. But then the first Holga that I bought is the 120N, and this one didn't have a built-in flash, so it allows me to put a flash on top. I do love this flash because I do feel like it has more power and it's a lot stronger, so it is nice being able to have my little additional flash on top here. The one thing about having the flash built in is that if your flash batteries run out, it's inside this with the film. So that means that you won't be able to shoot any more film with the flash until that roll is done, and then you can take that roll out to put new batteries in. So that might be a bad situation if you're maybe shooting a reception and you need the flash to keep going. You might have to wind up that roll before being able to change the batteries. So that's just one little thing to think about, but again, it's not really a huge deal. I'm sure if you put new batteries in after every use, then you won't have that issue during a reception. Another little thing to add about the CFN is that you do have this little dial at the top, and what you're doing is going in between these little gel filters that will go over the flash. So there's a blue, I believe orange, red, and then just white. So obviously I have it on white most of the time because I don't want any filters on the flash, but I do think that's a cool little option to have. One thing I should also mention is that when I'm shooting with the Holga, first of all, because I'm limited with the shots that I have, but mostly because of the flash, I try not to take too many of the same person, or, you know, too many direct, because that flash is really bright. So, you know, maybe I'll get one shot of the couple looking at the camera, but then for the most part, I love having them looking at each other, or again, doing dancing photos, things where they're not going to be looking directly into this, because it does get quite bright. I have had couples say that as well, so just try not to take too many shots pointed directly at them. So I'm not going to load a roll right now, but just to quickly show you, you're going to have the empty spool on the right side there, and then you'll turn it and twist it just so that the opening is right there for this the film to go into. So then you'll load your film in this side of the body, and you'll want to obviously have the negatives facing the black part facing the shutter. You don't want the black part facing towards you. You don't want to be able to see that. You'll want to be able to see the yellow Kodak film as it slides across. So that way the negatives are obviously being shot onto the shutter here. So yeah, you'll pull the film over, you'll wind it. Once you've got it secured in there, I'll typically put on the back fairly quickly so that again I can avoid any light leaks. And from there, once I get the back on, again just pulling down these two tabs to get the back on, then I will keep turning the film and letting it roll, and that way I'm not getting any light leaks while it's rolling. And you'll just watch through this little screen here, and you can see when the Kodak comes up, you'll see an arrow, and then you'll start to see a 1. Make sure you notice that 1 because it is just like a line, like it doesn't look like the number 1. So then you'll stop there, you'll pull down the tape to cover that. Again, just making sure that there's no light leaks coming in through that red little screen, especially if you're shooting in daylight. If you're shooting at nighttime at a reception, that probably doesn't matter as much, but during the day there's just so many opportunities for that sun to really come through there. So use gaff tape specifically because it can be resealed and sealed so many times. So use gaff tape. I'll post the link for the Amazon product below. And then what I also like to do is I'll tape it all along the different creases. So I'll tape it along the top part here, make sure that this line is covered and sealed with gaff tape. I'll tape it along the bottom, and then I also will tape these sides as well, which will help this from falling down on you and the back coming off, because the back does come off very easily. So I like to tape along the sides. Again, I did place a piece of tape at the front, just in these little areas, just to make sure, again, extra precaution. And those ones I never need to remove anyway, so they can just stay there, which makes it nice and easy. Once you've got it all taped up, you're good to start shooting. It's a fun little camera. You never know quite what you're gonna get from it, and you obviously can't always expect a lot because until you've shot that first roll, you don't know what your Holga is going to do, if there is light leaks or different things that's going on there. I hope that this video was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, make sure to put them below. If you have any ideas for the next videos, I would love to hear that as well. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.